Hey y'all, this is Mr. Pepin, and for our third week of online science, we're going to be looking at the transfer of energy through an ecosystem via food chains and food webs. This builds off what we learned last week about different types of organisms in an ecosystem. One such organism is a producer, such as grasses and flowers. Producers use sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide, and with a process called photosynthesis, make their own energy. Consumers have to eat other organisms in order to get energy. And last but not least, decomposers break down the dead bodies of plants and animals to get energy. Why is energy so important? Because we need it in order to walk, run. We need it in order to live. And this flow of energy can be summed up in a food chain. This food chain at the bottom of my screen, just like every other food chain, starts with a producer. In this case, grass. The grass, through photosynthesis, creates its own energy. Then, when the grass is eaten by a consumer, in this case a grasshopper, the energy gets transferred. Then, when this grasshopper is eaten by another consumer, in this case a mouse, that energy gets transferred again. And this process repeats itself again and again through this food chain. But you're probably noticing just how different all the consumers in this food chain look. So we're going to be taking a closer view of 4 different types of consumers. We have herbivores that eat only plants, carnivores that eat meat or other animals, omnivores that eat both plants and meat, and then scavengers that eat dead plants and animals. An example of a carnivore would be a crocodile. An example of an herbivore would be a rabbit. And an example of an omnivore would be a raccoon. And then when we look at how all these organisms, all these different types of consumers as well as producers are connected, we have what is called a food web. This is all the different food chains that are present within an ecosystem. And just like with our class, all of these organisms depend on one another. So if just one organism is affected, the entire food chain and food web may be affected. For example, in a grassland ecosystem, let's say there's a drought, and for a season, the grass does not grow very well. Well, the mice that live in that ecosystem will then be affected because there's less food to go around. And if there are less mice because of it, the consumers that eat the mice will also be affected, such as, let's say, hawks or snakes. And this can go on and so forth until the entire food web is affected. Your 3 assignments for this week are going to touch on ecosystems and how energy is transferred. The first part of your assignment is going to be creating your own food chain. You're going to start with the sun, and you're going to go from producer to consumer. After that, you're going to take a practice quiz that is going to ask you about the different types of consumers. Last but not least, you are going to create a flip grid. You are going to be given a picture of a food web, or you can come up with your own food web. And what you have to do is pretend you are a scientist. You discover that one of the organisms is going extinct. In other words, it's out of the ecosystem. What is going to happen to the other organisms? Here are some sentence stems to get you started. But apart from that, the rest is all up to you. Good luck, class. Turn in your slides to Google Classroom when you are done.